are you doing, Linda?
I'm doing well. I was just re-looking over some of the questions that you had, and I'm like, some of them I may get myself in trouble if I answer. So,
That's the best type of, that's the best type of question.
right, yeah, that's what I
We
was
cannot
thinking.
hear you, Valerie. Did you pick the right mic? Can you pick the mic? When you click on the icon mic, can you change which mic you're using? Okay, I'm gonna
Yes.
on YouTube and LinkedIn now.
Awesome.
Yeah, cool. How are you doing, Linda?
Awesome. Yeah, we've had the fun House and Senate bipartisan agriculture committee talking about Bitcoin democratizing our banking system just yesterday. Like, I mean, we have movement in this space
That's
and a
awesome.
lot of big players asking some of the right questions, still muddling about in some of the stuff that it's yeah, it's an interesting balance we're looking to find collectively right now.
Yeah, cool.
Nice. Um, okay. I think we're live. I can see us in the live feed. And okay, let's start. Welcome. This is my first Boss Topics. I dressed up for it because it's the first, so I put on a jacket. I'm wearing pajama pants though, so COVID.
Well,
Uh, Thank you so much for being here. My name is Marina. I'm the podcast host. Today I have Linda and Valerie. Linda is vice president and of the board of directors for the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, and I have my notes here, so I'm looking over. Valerie is a blockchain researcher at International Center of Appropriate and Sustainable Technology. Welcome for this conversation. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for
happy to
having
be
us.
here.
Awesome. So, can you give us a quick intro about your role at the company? Linda, let's start with you. Your role at the company, what do you do briefly for context for the audience?
Absolutely. I am with the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, and it's been an amazing journey since 2012 when I first engaged with blockchain technology, and 2018 I first connected with the founding team at the chamber and have been on a very fun progression with the leadership there, and actually was instrumental in helping convert it to a 501c3 just yeah, just at the beginning, actually, very, very end of last year, and super excited to be going into 2022, supporting the community, meeting the social mandate of the chamber, which is raising awareness, facilitating adoption, and inspiring advocacy. And that's for commerce, consumers, and people building their careers in and around blockchain. So it's wonderful to have this opportunity to educate, connect, and support the moving forward of innovation with you. So thank you, Marina.
Thank you. Thank you, Valerie. How about you?
Yeah, I'm Valerie Spina. Yeah, I'm working with a company called ICAS, the International Center for Appropriate and Sustainable Technology, and I'm a blockchain researcher here. And so, what's sort of fun and interesting about this role actually is it's funded through AmeriCorps. And I think what we're really trying to do here at ICAS and with this role is put a whole dichotomy around blockchain and social impact, and making sure that this technology is actually going to have positive impacts on the people that kind of need it the most. And what ICAS does is ultimately sort of these green retrofits for multifamily affordable housing units. And so we do sort of everything. We're this one-stop shop, from consulting you to helping you with the financing to actually implementing all of this green energy technology and again green upgrades to multifamily affordable housing, which has some pretty unique issues in itself. And so, yeah, so I came in to sort of look at, okay, well, how is blockchain going to impact our business? How is it going to impact energy and power? How can we make sure it positively impacts low income tenants and again, people in general kind of on the margins? So there's really a whole kind of new dichotomy, I think, that's around this space too, that I'm really happy and excited to kind of be building out from the ground up a lot too. So yeah, that's what we do. Yeah.
Love it, love it. And I am not an expert in blockchain, but I do study blockchain from a technology perspective as an engineer. And I am super excited to have this conversation. What was your start in blockchain? Or, and even, I know, Linda, you have a cool story you want to tell us about
You do, Linda. Go
Bitcoin,
first.
your Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, my start with blockchain technology was through the Bitcoin blockchain. And it's kind of an interesting little educational piece. Bitcoin with a big B is actually referring to the blockchain, and Bitcoin with a little b refers to the actual coins or the store of value that you can own and claim as your asset. So it was, oh my goodness, back back when there were no convenient Coinbases to go to. There wasn't the even the talk around the regulatory structure that there currently is, and I was just, you know, caught a pop up on my parents' computer during the holidays and went, "What is a Bitcoin faucet? Like, really? Like, what kind of worm bug bad stuff are people trying to, you know, get you to click on now?" And it just got me curious enough because I didn't know what Bitcoin was. And that's when I started digging, just kind of researching, figuring out, you know, what is it? Very interesting rabbit holes, even at that time. And yeah, got a like a compelling sense of this is important. This is something different. This is a something that I want to touch and engage with, and it's like it's digital, so you can't touch it, right? You know, but you know these strings of letters and numbers define your ownership. It's an address to, you know, where you hold a different kind of value. And of course, my husband thought, you know, internet funny money. What are you talking about? So I had to go through the educational process for myself to be able to come back to him with, you know, this is an uncorrelated asset class, this is a diversification for our portfolio, and it's a potential chaos hedge because if we have inflation, you know, it may be something that can balance against that as a different type of store of value. And so he finally came to the point of saying, okay, let's buy some. And so that was the beginning of my journey, having a transition from, you know, a pile of cash to a string of letters and numbers is a really scary thing, right? It wasn't something that I felt comfortable with at all. But I just felt really, really strongly that it was something that was going to be an important aspect of how value was grown for my family. It was, I can't even describe the sense of necessity almost that there was to taking that leap of faith into a digital world. And you know, I've since, you know, done research about fear of the unknown and fear of missing out. And I think it was kind of fear of the known that was my driver at the time, just understanding where the financial markets were. I think that was a really big piece of the puzzle. But yeah, the progression has been really interesting since then. Obviously, we've had huge ups and downs, but a really impressive trend line of value growing over time. So been very thankful for that Genesis block of my journey into blockchain.
Good. Nice.
Yeah.
Valerie, what was your start with blockchain?
Yeah, and I just like love that story, Linda, just like finding some ad on the internet and being like, okay, let's go. Um, yeah, so I think I sort of like, now that I'm in more of an official role, I feel like I have to be okay with admitting that my start was from a more degenerate beginning. We were, it was just me and a bunch of friends, you know, kind of loving the internet and growing up on the internet and finding Bitcoin and getting involved. And um, it was at the time, this was like 2011, and you had to like Western Union, Mount Gox, like, $100, and it was like the only money we had to like spend. And we just like thought like, there's no way we're getting this money back from some company in China. Like, there's just, I like remember I went to the Western Union at the Giant in my hometown, and I was just like, this is gone. Like, there's just no way. And so we just kind of had it, and we were kids on the internet, and uh, we kept like a group wallet for a while, and now years later, I got more involved once I had more disposable income, and kind of started investing more in altcoins, and just more in Bitcoin. And I kind of started to see the space was changing over too. Really, as of this year, it boomed since 2017, and I was working then for Freddie Mac, and as an internal consultant, and it was just booming, and the space was really changing and taking on a lot more credibility, and all of the startups that were coming in. And so I finally I found this role through AmeriCorps and with ICAST, and it felt really right to sort of jump in officially as like a full-time role, a formal role, and do some research, and also kind of join all of my interests together of technology and blockchain and social impact. And yeah, so that's how I got here.
Nice. I love that. I love that. All right. We have a lot of basics to cover. And I don't know, like, I feel like the audience could be very educated about this by now. Everybody's talking about blockchain and cryptocurrency. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about what some of these terms mean that maybe we can highlight without having to go into the definition of all of it? So, I think DAO is one. I think NFT could be one that we could touch base on. Where is Web3 and how do we get there?
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff. So let's tackle a few of your favorites.
Yeah, I do love how many people ask me right now, what is an NFT? um, I think I do a lot of NFT 101s. I sort of have gotten to this phrasing of, I look at NFTs as just the data container. It's just the data container for unique asset values. That's also a unique kind of data container for blockchain environments. And so I think like that is how I try to simplify it down, and so people can understand what they can do with them, and that NFTs aren't just like JPEGs that are selling for 6 figures. Like, that's not what an NFT is. It's a data container that we can do a lot more with. Yeah.
Totally. How about you, Linda? What is the question you get asked the most? What is fill in the blank?
It's a tough question, because there's misconceptions that are there that people don't recognize as misconceptions, and that's, to me, one of the biggest pain points I see is when people are talking about blockchain, they say the blockchain and have no conceptual awareness that there are multiple blockchains, and that there's big differences between public blockchains and private blockchains, and blockchains that are really federated, I guess is the word to use, but they're a blend, and they have very different capabilities, and different levels of access. And when I hear these conversations about the blockchain, and they put some of the components of the Bitcoin blockchain into their description, and then spread this wide brush, about blockchain, that's probably where my biggest frustration lies, because it creates a environment of misinformation. And there's also the awareness that there's an ownership aspect to holding things on blockchains. And we've had this plethora of third-party providers and exchanges, and ways to kind of separate the human and the ownership of their digital asset. And, even with NFTs, there's places where you can buy an NFT, but there's literally no way for you to custody it or have a custodial role with that NFT. It literally has to live with the custodial platform. That's another frustration. Some people don't realize where their ownership actually lies. And there's some people that go with it if it's not your, well, anyway. You can tell that's one of my little points of caution for people, when I'm trying to raise awareness and facilitate adoption. It's like, be aware of what you're engaging with and the right that you have to hold it, and in what type of security level are you actually maintaining it. So those are some really important things. I see Valerie wanting to
I know.
comment on that.
I think you actually make a really good point about like what is the biggest misconception, which I actually think is like, what is the biggest misconception also being like, what is the paradigm shift going on here? I think people don't, I think that's actually a big misconception, is that people aren't totally aware that there's a massive paradigm shift that blockchain allows. And it's exactly what you said, Linda, that we're now able to hold our digital assets, and we're able to participate in decentralized data storage, like for a global amount of data, including ours. And I think that is, such a massive paradigm shift that people don't really understand that that's what blockchain technology
So
can allow
how
us
would
to
you
do.
explain, how would you explain that shift? Because it is hard to conceptualize. So what is now and versus, well, technically now is the shift,
Yeah.
right? So what is before versus the
Yeah.
future?
Yeah, so I put it, I like the Web 1 to Web 2, Web 3 way of explaining this. So like
Mhm.
Web 1 was you were only able to read the internet. You were only able to read it. You couldn't sort of interact with it. Web 2 was what we're in now, where you're able to read and write, but it's centralized, right, by a bunch of big tech companies, kind of Google, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and all of your data is stored by their centralized server systems, right? And you don't own any of that, and that's how they make all of their money, anyways, kind of
Money. Yep.
off of the data that we slough off. We slough off data, and Web 3 is this new development in, no, your digital identity is yours, and you hold and store all of your own data. And there's a lot of possibilities from what we might be able to do with that. I think sort of the turning data into value is still in the works, but ultimately the blockchain's able to move us away from these centralized storage systems into decentralized storage that we're able to be a part of, because your CPU, your GPU, the ASICs that you own, all of those things are able to run and store all of our data, and we're able to participate in that now, rather than need sort of these big tech companies behind it to hold all of our data and interact with their platforms to then use and interact with our own data. So I think that is the biggest thing. Linda, add on to that if I missed anything.
I love your slough off data.
Yeah,
I'm just, thinking about,
me
as
too.
we as humans, we slough, skin cells, and,
Yes, the same thing. Yeah.
it's like, it's just, it's the dust of the internet, right?
Yeah.
All over the place. My digital footprint belongs to the digital environments into which I have provisioned myself, usually with a username and password, and then the entity that holds that space owns my digital footprint. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how Web 2 has operated and made money, a lot of money. And what I love about what I'm seeing come together, and Web3 hasn't been defined. The spatial web, we have a lot of different ways that people are looking at it, because it's coalescing, and it's coalescing through the integration of patent stacks. I say patent stacks. It's technology stacks, many of which are patented. So there's, and I can get into a fun conversation around, what should be, open sourced and why. And the reality is things are being built today that actually are in existence today where you and I can own our digital footprint. And I've had conversations, with representatives of huge international bank organizations that have told me that people don't want to take responsibility, right? Over 90% of people just don't want to be responsible, and they abdicate responsibility. And we've done that with the web, where we just provision the right to our data to entities that we then trust to secure it, and allow us to utilize it as we see fit. But the reality is they also utilize it as they see fit. And to have the right to choose, and it's a responsibility too, right? That's what we have to recognize. Web3 is going to open doors of responsibility that, because many people won't want to walk through them, there will once again be the third-party providers that are the gate to Web3 worlds. And we have examples of that already. The transitioning of ownership Web3 from large organizations is being done right now. And if you want to talk about a land grab, you don't have to look at the sandbox, for the examples. But I'm hopeful that there will be an implementation that takes us back to when land was the open spaces that could be used by, think about the commons.
The public goods, totally.
England has a beautiful example of how that, should have continued working. They also had the feudal system and some really negative aspects. But if we could go back to the commons literally being the digital worlds collectively, where we as humans could walk through those worlds and respect each other's spaces, right? But be connecting the digital and physical in a way that we can interact without some of the ownership barriers that currently exist. I think there's some opportunity right now for that to, like, literally open source the digital touch points to what is our current physical world without assigning ownership to those touch points to any entity, human. It's the commons. It's a collective open source locational connectivity from physical to back again. I think that's my hopeful.
I love this conversation because it also speaks from a different lens of abundance versus scarcity, right? Which is like, capitalist driven transactions are from a lens of scarcity. Like land grab is a perfect example of that. There's limited amount of land grab, versus, like, to me, that is incongruent with tech, because it is something that you can create, and there should always be able to, in some way, shape, or form, create more of it. And I like this perspective, and I think it comes from also, like, the fact that we are three women talking about blockchain right now, which I love to recognize, because this was specific. And perhaps we're not necessarily the, what you would think about the average group of people talking about blockchain, which is exciting.
Well, and I want to add to Linda's too. I think that you even start to, and it is very exciting, all women. I'm happy to be a part of it. But I think that we even start to get into, like, the theory of utility, which I'm also interested in how blockchain and Web3 might enable a fully open, actualized, decentralized internet, which was like the initial kind of vision for the internet, also, that then got decentralized and kind of conglomerated, and then might be decentralized again. And yeah, like the theory of utility finally, and maybe the internet as a fully actualized utility at some point in time. I don't know how many people agree with that, but but um, I think that's definitely an interesting thing that the blockchain kind of decentralized internet can finally enable.
So if we get practical for a second here, how does one currently today start to access those tools that are Web 3 versus Web 2?
Yeah, so I can talk a little first, Linda, and then you can go. You got to have a wallet. You got to have a you got to start with a wallet. You got to set up a wallet, and you got to
Wallet,
buy, yeah, and you got to purchase some kind of token. So get on some
token.
kind of decentralized exchange.
Yeah.
Start purchasing some tokens, and then I think just kind of dive in. Get on the find something you're interested in first, like just Ethereum or Bitcoin, even just the biggest two kind of groups. Get on some kind of Discord page, start talking to people, find other applications, games, ecosystems, yeah, and just sort of like start to get involved. But the wallet really carries you through as your digital identity kind of all the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, love that you said, start with a wallet. It's really going to be holding our signature into the Omniverse. Like that is what our digital wallet is going to be going forward. But I was kind of chuckling when you said, you have to get a token. Actually, there's ways to interact where you don't have, like, for instance, the Nifty Gateway.
Oh, this.
Gem the Winklevoss twins said, they're super smart business. They thought, if we can take one piece of the complexity out of the puzzle for people, they're more likely to engage. So you can, with fiat, you can buy an NFT and they'll actually custody it for you, right? So there's ways to engage with aspects of digital ownership that don't require having to get a token or a coin. But my personal opinion is engaging with the modalities of value transfer is really an empowering thing to do. And this is not financial advice. I can just tell you from my personal experience, Bitcoin is the best performing asset of all time in my portfolio. And I think you can find the stats to back that up for anybody else's portfolio that has held it over time. And there's some people that might have hype cycled in at $60,000 to $70,000, and now they're going, "This is not the investment I thought it would be." Like, long-term perspective in this space is key, right? Long-term perspective. I've watched it grow for 10 years. Long-term perspective, but I wouldn't have the story that I do if I had freaked out the first time it went to 1,000 and then came crashing back down to around 100ish, right? Like that would have been the end of my story if I had let emotions drive my choices. So anyway, that's how do you engage? The cryptocurrency side of it is a really empowering aspect, but the connectivity between humans outside of value transfer is really, in my opinion, one of the most empowering and powerful aspects of Web3. So I was on a IEEE call yesterday. Amazing gentleman presented. I'd like to see more women presenting and engaging in that space, but it was a really interesting awareness building around the spatial web and the technology stacks that are there, and the aspects of communication and secure communication that were spoken about are also very, very empowering. They're also very frightening to global governments. So this is a very unique time, and it's a balancing act with what's going on with the opportunity that technology brings and the constraints that many governments feel need to be put in place to keep bad actors from taking advantage of those opportunities. So we're hopeful that innovation won't be stifled, that there will be an opportunity for you and I to own our own digital footprint, to be able to have secure communications, to, take that control back of our digital footprint. It's an interesting time of innovation. So I would recommend that people research, start looking up things like the spatial web. Start to understand, Bitcoin as more than just a commodity. It's also enabling of speech in a very unique way. And there's just component parts to what this emerging tech stack enables that I think are really positive and empowering globally. This is it's not a US thing. This isn't just a, techie nerdy thing. This is really a huge positive for people everywhere. So
Yeah, I think
What
if I
is,
can,
yeah, go ahead,
if
Lynn.
I can
Go,
add,
go ahead,
Marie. So
Valerie.
yeah, I think this is also a really cool space right now, and I'm hoping this stays like this forever. But like,
Yeah.
you can dive in and learn so much just within 30 days or within a couple months or 6 months, and the longer you stay in, the more you just kind of have an ear to the ground, and I call it sitting in the stream. The more you know and the more you're a part of stuff. There's just so much going on here. Everything, knowledge is really accessible. I think about the knowledge here as being as decentralized as the technology itself. So there's just so many opportunities to like learn and get involved, and it's fully accessible too. So I hope that encourages people to learn. Yeah.
I, I think that you nailed like the fact that there's so many players. Part of the public confusion is probably like which player, regardless of blockchain, cryptocurrency, DAO, NFT, right? Which player am I gonna bet on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder if you've heard of, and yeah, yeah, I wonder if you're, or if there has been conversations about some type of coalition that
Mm.
may keep a multiplayer game in place versus a oligopoly, monopoly type of play that it's happening right now in Web 2.
Mm.
And maybe that would be a good way of keeping a bunch of players still in the game, not necessarily centralizing the power of a few companies, but keeping them talking and collaborating together. Because part of the big thing is like with multiple blockchain and multiple coins and multiple things, how are these things going to interact together? And how are going to hold value in the space as well?
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
the
Go ahead, Linda.
the Universal Framework of Things Consortium is at its genesis point right now. So that is happening, and it's really, really important to understand that all of the players that currently exist in Web 2 are entity things that can be part of the universal framework of things. And you don't have to have a winner takes all or a zero sum game. This is an opportunity for any entity that wants to participate. And I say this on the human level, right? Entity as in one bit in the human chain. We collectively can participate in the universal framework of things. And when you think of a thing being a blockchain, or a thing being meta, or a thing being a metaverse, it kind of is how you think about what the digital future could look like. And so we're on that pathway, and there's the tech stacks that enable it, and it's the conversations bringing the people collectively together to help make that outcome be human centric and not institutional or country centric that is really, really vital right now.
I love that. Thank you for that. Okay. What is the project or blockchain implementation that you're most excited about right now?
Oh, I don't even want to tell people because I'm so excited about this one.
Do it.
I don't even
Do
want to tell
it.
them. I'm really excited about a project called Helium, which I don't think is even that unknown. I think just Helium has such an incredible model to it. So Helium is it's a LoRaWAN network, which is for those that don't know what LoRaWAN is. It's just another kind of connectivity network, sort of like Wi-Fi. LoRaWAN is a lower power and a wider range network, and it's usually used for like IoT devices. So the device that you have on your dog's collar. If your dog gets out, you need a LoRaWAN network to make sure that we can send data, from the device back to you, and you can find your dog. So it's really enabling all of these kind of new sensors like that, and again, like other IoT devices. What they're doing that's just so incredible is that they take these LoRaWAN routers and they're on the blockchain, and so when you turn them on and
Which
you set them
blockchain again?
It's just the Helium.
I'm just
blockchain.
messing with you. You
Oh.
said the blockchain.
I know your whole thing. Yeah, I think it's just the Helium network. I don't think they're using. It's definitely it's an Ethereum. It's from the Ethereum open source chain. No, yeah, they took the Ethereum chain and built on top, built off of it. But yeah, so when you turn on the device, what they're doing is when it runs and it sends or sort of it does a couple things. I'm not going to explain all of it, but basically when you turn it on, it mines cryptocurrency, it mines their native token HNT, and what that enables people to do is it just incentivizes a network of average people to build out this LoRaWAN mesh network. It's just incredible. So I'm very excited about that project.
So fun story that I have that ties into the Helium network. About, oh gosh, it's almost 2.5, 3 years ago now. I did a series working with an organization that was supporting education through, speech and debate. And we did a series where I walked around with this little book to their class. And actually we sponsored the events where they had speech and debate, got prizes, all this fun stuff. Anyway, so part of the I just loved the model that got kids asking questions from both sides, right? So that the debate model is it's fantastic if you want to educate truly. But one of the young men who was in, part of this process is one of the youngest and most prolific owners of the Helium network devices. And he was talking about his tokens, and we had this whole discussion. Actually, it's videoed. We actually have this for historical purposes. He was talking, asking questions about taxes and how to manage it, and he was just like all pumped, about his Helium. And I mean, just an expansive opportunity, but the kid was like 9th grader, right? I mean, just a little guy who saw an opportunity, who said, this makes sense, and started actuating on that. And so yes, love, great project. The chamber is platform and token agnostic. And so, when I told you, Marina, some of the questions might put me in a position that I just probably should just keep my mouth shut. I really don't have any project that I would put out there as the one that I'm most excited about. I'm probably most excited right now in regard to the focus that's being put on this entire blockchain ecosystem. And it's really powerful to see who is focused on it, the organizations, the country leadership. We have this time in history that is going to be looked back on as seminal in what the outcomes are going forward. So I'm really excited about where we are, and I've always been a fan of smart regulations, and I think that's just going to open doors for more innovation, for more companies actually staying in the U.S. potentially instead of going overseas to, try to find regulatory certainty. There's going to be some, I hope, very, very positive outcomes for innovation in the very near future. And, fun projects like Helium will, provide services that will help people, over time, more and more recognize the value proposition of the technology. So, yeah.
Nice. Thank you for that. That's super, super exciting. Linda, I'll get your favorite project later in private. Just joking. Okay, so we can talk about, since Linda kind of touched base on this and brought it up a little bit, the Omniverse. and and how does it relate to blockchain technology? Sometimes they seem maybe a little bit separate. But if we can start talking about Omniverse, I will also love to talk about a little bit of the open source versus private building of this type of ecosystem that Linda you've mentioned, and as it relates to the Omniverse. What is the Omniverse?
Yeah, Linda, can you start by defining the Omniverse?
What is it?
What is the Omniverse? It's the universal framework of things. That is what I define the Omniverse as. And in that universal framework of things, any metaverse can be a thing. And our spaces in the digital world have rules and structure. If you're talking about a DAO, it can be a thing. Internal to it, it has a governance infrastructure. And if we think about how all of these different component parts can connect, right, can allow for human engagement in any number of them at any point in time and space, this is this universal framework of things. And one of the realities that we're looking at is that AI is going to play a huge role in the interconnectivity that we have. And for me, trying to remember all the usernames and passwords and all of that stuff, to engage in the current platforms, it's crazy. Like, I mean, just give me one seed phrase that is my key, my secret to know, that gives me access to anything in a verifiable way, right? That's what I need as a human being to kind of ease into this. But at the same time, how do we manage all of these complexities of connectivity? And, either with web or without web, right? We have to have it a model that can be implemented using the web as a tool, right, as a thing, or not using the web, right? So I'm the same human being, whether I'm going into a digital space or I'm walking into a real classroom or a real boardroom, to be able to put my digital signature out there, or here. It's an agent model is something that I think is going to be progressively more and more accepted. The awareness that a digital acting on my behalf with my permissions is going to be part of how this universal framework of things works. It's a little scary to contemplate.
I've never heard that before, Linda. Digital agent. Are you talking about someone that's like, is there a person behind the digital agent, or is it just sort of a what's it called, a digital twin?
Yeah, it's a robotic consciousness, right? That acts on my direction as me as a human, giving it direction, but it can learn and do things on my behalf in the digital world. And I hesitate with the digital twin connection because I have twins. I have a boy and a girl twin. They're 13, and they don't speak for each other. They don't represent. They are so different pieces. I mean, you just they're apples and oranges. You know, they're very, very different. So I wouldn't say it's a digital twin. I would say it is an agent that acts on your behalf in the digital world and can manage your keys into all of the variety of verses that there are going to be. And you know why I say it's an omniverse, and that's that universal framework, is because we can't allow there to be just one meta verse. It's not safe. It's not safe for humanity to have their digital space be that contained. And so the future, if we can keep it human centric and have agency in the digital world, we collectively win.
Totally. I just want this digital agent to also manage my calendar, schedule my laundry pickup, handle my dog walking,
Like
manage my kids' schedule. If they can do all of that, I'm in.
That's funny.
Well, so think about your smartphone, right? When smartphones first came out, like maybe you had a couple apps, right? Like a really simple calculator, some really simple stuff. And now, like, oh my God, my kid can like be in a whole different world on my phone. You know, or their iPad, or it's just like this. The apps today are so complex and enable so much. And we're going to see something similarly. I mean, dApps, the decentralized applications that have been being created, you know, they started out really clunky and awkward, and they're progressing. And we're going to have taps or thing applications that allow your agent to learn and act upon things on your behalf through that new learning that they've had. So, I mean, I could tell my agent to, you know, organize my receipts so that, you know, I can have my buckets for filing my taxes, right? That's a simple model that the agent can learn the vocabulary and the access points for that data and actually do on my behalf. What I want and what I think will happen is we'll then, you know, we'll progress from the very simple taps to a tap that once my agent has learned the process and vocabulary and can access the right touch points, I can say file my taxes. And the aggregation of all of the content and data and the stuff, the things that need to go into doing that well, are going to be able to be managed by my agent on my behalf. That's the progression I see happening.
I'm interested in your agent idea, Linda. I've never heard that before. It sort of sounds like a more automated and like personally controlled Alexa.
There could be that correlation, yes.
Yeah,
and there's
the first thing I think of too is just the security of it. if it's holding all of my personal private data.
You're absolutely right, and that's where the multi-key infrastructure is really, really key to that security, so that you're quantum proof. And the thing model actually allows you to be future proof, because any new technology can be acted upon as a thing because it has rules, right? So this is, in my opinion, as this tech stack is implemented, we are going to leapfrog from the fourth industrial revolution, which people are still trying to define, into the seventh, because it's going to be that transformational.
Do you have examples or of anyone working on stuff like this?
Absolutely. I have been working with the gentleman who, well, back when the web was just a thing that, professors were sharing research through, a gentleman named Charlie Northrup saw, one of his buddies was at the University of Illinois. Charlie saw this transfer of data and said, that's going to be commercialized. And his buddy laughed at him. Charlie went and wrote 10 patents that defined e-commerce. And I got to sit at the lunch table with him when he found out who had been the money guy behind the deal. Because he actually had one of the biggest patent stack sales in history. And the guys who brokered the sale had us to lunch when Charlie came down to present at the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce headquarters in Atlanta. And during lunch, they just kind of casually asked, hey, Charlie, did we tell you about the email that we have framed on our office wall? Charlie and I are looking like, who frames emails, right? So obviously he's like, no, what is it? And they said, well, it was the response that the winning bidder got when he asked the money guy how much higher he could bid. And it just said, whatever it takes. And it was signed Bill Gates.
Wow.
Yeah. So since that time, Charlie has been working on, I have to tell you the rest of the story at the lunch table. As soon as Charlie heard that, his next words were, my current patent stack will dwarf that one.
Wow.
And what he has created over the past 13 years that's backed up by almost 700,000 lines of code is the tech stack that allows you to go from the physical world into the digital world and back again, and have your digital footprint managed on your behalf securely using a multi-key infrastructure through a digital agent that has a robotic consciousness model that is simple enough to be spun up on a Raspberry Pi.
That's crazy.
I've never heard of Charlie Northrup, so I'll have to do more research.
We're gonna be doing some research today about this.
Any relation to Northrop Grumman?
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I always wonder.
Yeah. No, but anyway,
I love this. Thanks for sharing, Linda. That's a cool story.
Yeah, I told Charlie as we were walking out from that lunch, I was like, Charlie, I own this story. I just want you to know that. Because when you have these like moments of feeling like they're historic, like you actually in the moment recognize the gravity of what just happened. That was one of those moments for me. And as I've seen his patent stack continue to grow, and what's like actually, I mean, it's insane. It's one of those things that is so, it was so frighteningly powerful that he put it aside and like stopped working on it at one point. And he had a friend that told him, you know what, Charlie, if you don't do this, someone else will, and they may not have the same positive intentions that you do. So if you want to help support the positive impact of this technology, then you need to continue working on it and make sure that there's a way to have it protected and to protect against those who might use it against. Yeah. It's crazy powerful, and the positive implications are like mind-bending. There's literally 1 million patents that will be written off of the base of what he has done. And it's only up to people's ingenuity and creativity how they bring this into their space. And I mean, I see an everyday little coder human that says, oh, I really understand X process, and they code that into a tap that then can be used to upskill any agent with that specific piece of knowledge. And they get royalties off of it for the rest of their lives. Yeah, and this is the creator economy. These are like the opportunities that are coming with it. At the same time, if you're an accountant, if you're, XYZ types of jobs that are currently there, if you think about what you do as a process, you better be the one starting to build the tap, because The remediation is going to happen in a way that most people aren't prepared for. So
That is so cool. We are coming up to time here, and I want to make sure you both have, I know it goes fast.
right.
It goes fast. I want to make sure you both have some time to speak about where can people find you, what are events are coming up for you and your organization. Where's, if you want to talk about the organization a little bit on the website, that's cool with me too. Just a little space to do some spotlight.
Yeah, thanks, Marina. Yeah, so I mean, you guys can find me on LinkedIn. My name is just Valerie Spina. I think you'll see a parentheses, she, her next to it. That's me. You can also find me on Twitter, same name. And I'm going to East Denver this week. If anyone is in the Denver area or going to Denver, yeah, East Denver is just kicking off. So you can see me around there. I'll be scanning people in tomorrow even. So if you're getting scanned in, you might see me. I'm also involved in the Smart Contract Research Forum. So you can go to smartcontractresearch.org and you can see kind of some of the things I'm thinking about and writing about, and just engage with us there. It's a really good forum about kind of everything blockchain and trying to connect academics and practitioners. If you're interested to learn anything about ICAST, our website is icastusa.org, and please reach out to me for anything about, I can answer about ICAST too. It's a really interesting place. It's a nonprofit. You can also donate to us. So yeah, just please reach out if you want to get involved and learn anything else. It was a pleasure, Marina, so thank you.
Thank you, Valerie.
Yeah, no, thank you, Marina. This has been a lovely opportunity, and obviously the Blockchain Chamber of Commerce, you can go to blockchainchamber.org. That's our official website. We will have some initiatives that are being put up on there. They're not there yet. So we had a membership model and we've transitioned to a initiative model. And so we're right in that transitional time frame, just to give you a heads up on that. I'm best reached on LinkedIn. You can see the spelling of my name, Linda Goetze, Goetze, and happy to connect, happy to engage, support. The social mandate of the Chamber of raising awareness, facilitating adoption, and inspiring advocacy is what I do, and I have a hashtag Better Together. That if you have anything that you think would be a collaborative, connective, like net benefit to be connected, I love being a part of that and supporting it, and always happy to help continue the responsible adoption of emerging technology. So.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, you two, for this amazing conversation. It is my job, I think, right now on this planet to continue to put the spotlight on women like you who are in underrepresented fields. So thank you for being in tech. Thank you for doing what you do, for your passions in these roles. And I look forward, honestly, and see what's up with blockchain, or not the blockchain, but the ecosystem of blockchain.
Awesome.
Cool,
Would
Maria.
look
Yeah,
forward